So, is there a collective reason we're sitting here looking at this? You guys are on vacation? From where?
Columbia, South Carolina.
Carolina, South Carolina?
Yes, sir.
Are you like affiliated with school?
High school. We're all seniors. We graduate on Friday.
Seniors from high school, excellent. Okay, so what do you think of this? Do you know what this is? In a nutshell, what is it? Protest. Against?
Obama and his administration.
Okay, and do you think they might have legs? That means, do they have a basis to stand?
Yes.
Okay, so do you guys see what's going on in the world? Do you know how much it's going to affect each and every one of you? You're clueless as to how much it's going to affect each and every one of you. When you get down to it, you have no idea what's coming down the pike by the government as a whole. Okay? It's not just Obama. It goes back decades and decades and decades. Do you guys know anything about the Federal Reserve? Do you know the Federal Reserve is not federal, that it's actually a bunch of individual people who own a banking cartel that decide to make money and send it out digitally and charge people interest, and there's nothing behind it other than the fact that I can take out a piece of paper, give it to you, and say it's worth something, and now you start giving me interest. It's called a banking cartel. It's the Federal Reserve. It is not part of our government, okay? That was done in the cover of darkness in 1913. You guys heard of Jekyll Island? It happened on Jekyll Island. There's a great book you should go out and buy. It's called The Creature from Jekyll Island. It explains, if you read that book, and it's a book, let me tell you, if you read that book, you would be a different person because of the knowledge you'll find in it. And the foundation we think we have as Americans, it's going to make you stop and say, huh? Let me tell you something else you don't know. Do you know that the United States was very involved in creating the United Nations? In 1945, we had a committee of 20 people who were instrumental in creating the UN from our State Department. Have you ever heard of Joe McCarthy? McCarthyism? Okay, he was kicked out of D.C. He was marginalized, ridiculed, died an alcoholic, okay? He said there's Soviet spies everywhere. Turns out when the Soviet Union fell in the 80s, we got the key to their codes, which can be found in a thing called the Venona release. They went back, and you know what? They were all spies. In fact, here's a mind-blowing. Have you ever heard of Alger Hiss? Alger Hiss was a Soviet spy that was caught after 45. He led the delegation to create the United Nations for the U.S. 15 of the 20 men on that committee were Soviet spies. So basically, Khrushchev once said, we're going to destroy America without ever firing a shot. Why? Because he knew they had sent so many spies into our nation and have infiltrated our society, they would win. Do you guys watch television?
Yes.
Is it garbage?
Yes.
It's pathetic, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's because they're intentionally dumbing you down. They want you to be stupid. So what do? Garbage in, garbage out. Okay? Do you know the media is fully corrupted? Fully corrupted. Okay? You know anything about education? Fully corrupted. How many of you guys have ever heard of Bill Ayers? Okay, nobody. I'm not even going to go there. But I could tell you things about Bill Ayers and his role in education. Actually, I will tell you. Bill Ayers was a professor of education for the University of Illinois, Chicago. Before that, he was part of the Weather Underground. The Weather Underground was a group of radicals from the 1960s protesting the Vietnam War. He bombed the Pentagon, his group, the Weather Underground. He was instrumental in creating it. They bombed the Pentagon. They bombed various police stations throughout the country. There was a thing called the Day of Rage in Chicago. They tried to destroy downtown Chicago. They just took off, breaking windows, just total protest and anarchy. Well, he ended up being on the run for 10 years. They caught him. He got off because of an illegal wiretap, all right? Well, it turns out his father is the president of Commonwealth Edison, the power giant that provides all the power to the Chicago and suburbs. Daddy was wealthy. He was also a communist. Bill Ayers gets off, again, FBI's most wanted, and he ended up getting a job in education at the U of I. And guess what? He launched President Obama's political career out of his living room. I know, it makes you go, what? Are you kidding me? Okay? Bill Ayers, who is a radical, revolutionary, communist atheist, was also, through his years in education, he became the vice president of curriculum studies for the American Education Research Association. What is that? The largest organization of its kind in education. He actually controlled curriculum from pre-K to post-grad throughout America for many years. And again, he was a radical, revolutionary, communist, atheist, bomber, terrorist. Well, how does somebody that anti-American become the leader of all curriculum from pre-K to post-grad? Okay, have you guys heard of Common Core yet?
Yes.
Have you had a flavor or taste of it yet?
Does it taste good?
Oh no, it's horrible. Common Core is designed to control kids' minds. It's a brainwashing tool. And you guys have been brainwashed. Whether you know it or not, they've implemented an awful lot of thought into your minds that really doesn't help. How many of you guys know the Constitution? Bill of Rights, Declaration. Did you have to learn it? Did you memorize it? Do you know the amendments?
Yeah.
Okay. It used to be a big deal when I went to school many, many moons ago, but now they've made less and less of it. Because the less you know, the more easy it is for them to control you. Okay, now I told you that the Soviets infiltrated our government and created the UN. Too bad somebody's not taking notes. In 1961, our State Department wrote a plan called Freedom from War. In that plan, I'm afraid the wind's messing my mic up. So, in that plan, from our State Department, given to the UN to implement, it was the plan to disarm all the world's peoples and militaries, transition to international law determined and dictated by the UN. Since 1961, Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, Canada, European Union, the United Kingdom, all disarmed. Their militaries shrunk down. Have you guys heard of the Small Arms Treaty? The UN is right now trying to create a small arms treaty between the US and the UN to have all of us register our guns. Guess why? Because if they know where they're at and who has them, they can come and take them. We're the last nation left that is armed and capable of putting up a fight against this tyranny. And it's tyranny, guys. Your government is no longer of, by, or for the people. They are out to literally downsize this nation so that we fall into line with this whole one world government concept. Do you guys think one world government's kind of conspiracy theory and crazy? Yeah, it's not. It's actually very well documented. You've got lots of presidents who talk about getting there, and we're almost there. Now, here's one last thing that you can research. In 1967, there was a think tank, and from it, they were tasked to determine how to keep people subject to government in a world without war. And a guy who was involved in this multi-year think tank said, you know, the conclusions they drew have got to get out to the people. It's too dire. And he wrote a report called the Report from Iron Mountain. Iron Mountain is somewhere in Virginia, I believe, or West Virginia. Don't quote me on that. But the Report from Iron Mountain states, how do you keep people subject to government control in a world without war? 3 ideas came of this. First one's kind of crazy. You know, if people thought there was an alien invasion, they would give of their money and time and resources to protect the planet from an alien invasion, right? That's crazy. Have you ever turned on the TV and how many shows are about aliens now? How many shows are focused on that?
A lot.
A lot, right.
I would say at least.
Another one was, have you guys ever heard of the term bread in circuses?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's look at athletics today. Baseball, basketball, football, hockey, track, you name it. And I'm all about athletics, and I think they're great on an individual level. But when you become a fanatic and all you do is watch television, and you're so busy watching these games and your team, and you're not aware of what these guys know, it's doing its job, and it's keeping you away from understanding the truth of what's going on. But here's the clincher. 1967. The best answer they had to keep you under control of the government's foot would be a believable, credible, sellable environmental threat to the planet. They knew that if you thought the planet relied on you giving of your money and your time and your lifestyle, you would do it to save the planet. 1967. Right after that, there was this thing called global cooling. You know what? That was debunked. So we went to global warming. That was debunked. Now it's climate change. Well, yeah, you know. And have you heard of carbon trading? Everything you do is going to cost you because it's about saving carbon emissions. Everything creates carbon emissions. And you guys are being fooled, and you are going to give of your hard-earned hours and labor to a hoax. It's tyranny, boys and girls, men and women. Okay? But anyway, I'm glad you guys listened to me. I hope you look into some of the things I said because it's true. And the sad thing is these people in Washington, D.C. are not going to ever tell the truth about the things I just stated. And when push comes to shove, they're going to be the people pushing. They're going to be the people shoving. You know, as much as I love my military and I come from a military background, I wouldn't want one of you guys to join it because the rules of engagement right now, you know, right now in a foreign war, you're not even allowed to have a bullet chambered in your rifle. You're in a war zone and you're in the military and you can't even have a bullet chambered? How insane is that? Oh wait, there's a bad guy. You got to call somebody and they have to say, yes, you're allowed to shoot him. The rules of engagement are costing American blood, and it's being done intentionally. And I don't want to see anybody fall into a trap if they can avoid it. And if you do find yourself in the military, believe what I just said, and you work from the inside out, because we need people who know what's going on who are in the military. Is that cool? So, you believe me or not? Okay? Spread the word.
Hey, did you ever mention the...
Thank you.
Oh, how you doing?